And today we're going to discuss the recent decision by Ryanair. As of June 2025, they will impose a fine of €500 on unruly passengers removed from its flights, and also airlines have followed suit in this. So we're just going to look at this, and in my opinion this is a lenient part of Ryanair's initiative, as they and other airlines will be pursuing passengers in civil action, all which they are entitled to do. And here is some of the reasons why. And in addition, we look at case law and see the massive bills unruly passengers may face. So it's good to be mindful of these new avenues that airlines are going to follow, not just Ryanair, but other airlines for unruly passengers. And the likes of Jet2 Airlines can send bills of up to £85,000 to passengers who force flight diversions. Airlines also often back fines off cost recovery through civil litigation means, and suing passengers, e.g. for flight diversion costs. As you can imagine, a flight diversion would greatly burden an airline. All the passengers involved, it would cost a lot in fuel. They would have to reimburse the passengers that were inconvenienced. They would have to probably put up no hotel. So you can see why this is a big issue for airlines and why they're doing this. So anyway, in Ireland, unruly passengers behaviour on an aircraft is addressed usually under the Air Navigation and Transport Act 2022, specifically in section 48. And section 48 of this act stipulates that individuals who contravene provisions of the act in related instruments are guilty of an offence. Penalties for such an offence can be seen under the Irish statute book.ie, and on summary conviction, which means in the district court, a class A fine, and that is a fine of or imprisonment for up to 6 months or both. And on conviction for indictment, that means you're brought to the circuit court for this offence. If the DPP agrees and the judge, it is elevated further to the circuit court, and with this, a fine up to 500,000 or imprisonment for up to 3 years or both, depending, I suppose, on the conduct and the judge's decision. And so some airlines, they do have contracts when you buy an airline ticket, and most airlines include clauses in their terms and conditions of contract of carriage that allows them to impose penalties or seek reimbursement if a passenger's behaviour causes flight delays or diversions, crew or passenger safety concerns, or operational disruptions. Now, airlines can't impose criminal penalties. Only governments or court can do that, as that is the function of the court to do so. But fines can be civil from the airline or criminal from the authorities like courts, as I said. But we look at a case that's currently ongoing. Well, we'll just look at the facts. We won't comment on the case really because it's ongoing in the court. So we'll say that Ryanair has filed a civil lawsuit in Irish Circuit Court seeking over 15,000 in damages. The claim includes costs for overnight accommodation, as I said, which can be a hindrance for people that are delayed for unruly passengers. And this incident happened in 2004 on a Ryanair flight, which was heavily reported in the newspapers, and it was from Dublin to Lanzarote and was diverted to Porto, Portugal, due to a passenger's disruptive conduct. The flight was delayed overnight, causing significant inconvenience to 160 passengers. Now, the airline's stance, it was reported also in the newspapers, that Ryanair described the passenger's behaviour as inexcusable and emphasised its zero tolerance policy towards disruptive conduct. The airline stated that such legal actions are part of a broader effort to deter unruly behaviour and ensure a safe and respectful environment for all passengers and crew, which I suppose is fair enough. And we look at a case now from the UK, because a lot of this is applicable to the UK passengers also, as well as Irish, because the law is similar. So we will look at a 2017 case and judgment and it was against Jet2.com versus Mr. McKeown, and in a landmark case, Jet2 successfully sued passenger Mr. McKeown for £5,200 in damages after his disruptive behaviour on a Glasgow to Ibiza flight led to diversion to Toulouse in France. Mr. McKeown was also fined £3,200 for being drunk and acting disruptively on an aircraft breaching the Air Navigation Order 2009 of the UK law, and this civil claim covered the cost of diversion, including fees and passenger accommodation, and this was reported in travelweekly.co. So in another significant case that you're going to want to listen to this one because it's very important, Jet2.com or airline versus Mrs. Haynes 2019. It's another significant case, and Jet2 billed a passenger, Mrs. Haynes, a disruptive passenger, as they said, £85,000 sterling after a flight was forced to divert, accompanied by 2 RAF Typhoon fighter jets. And it's reported that she tried to open the aircraft door and storm the cockpit, as reported by the independent newspaper, during the flight from London Stansted, and she was banned also for life due to her extreme disruptive behaviour on a flight from the UK to Turkey. Mrs. Haynes attempted to open the aircraft door, as I already said, mid-flight, and a forced return to London Stansted with the military escort. She was arrested for assault and endangering an aircraft. So there you have it. Don't be caught out being in this situation, because the consequences are severe, as you can see, in civil action. So not just Ryanair's €500 fine is a slap on the wrist compared to the civil action that can follow. So it is wise to abide by the rules when you're travelling on these airlines, not just Ryanair, but Aer Lingus, Jet2, Wizz Air, whatever airline. They're taking a hard-nosed stance against unruly passengers. So as you can see, the consequences are dire. So while I do try to remain impartial, I have great admiration, I must say, for Ryanair. The chief executive, Mr. O'Leary, has brought cheap aviation travel to new heights, and in my opinion, we should think about how much travel to our favourite destinations, where would it be without Ryanair's competitiveness. Anyway, the final decision rests with you, the viewer. Do you agree with these fines? Don't you agree? I think I'll remain impartial, but that is just the new decision. That is just the new case of Ryanair going to fine passengers €500, which is in their right to do so. So thanks for watching. Take care and subscribe. Cost you absolutely nothing.